A Monica Lewinsky exclusive, her weight loss commercial on ET.
Tracking the Y2K bug, the U.S. Government Command Center opens for business, watching for Y2K meltdowns anywhere in the world. And the first big one is in Britain, where some credit cards have stopped working. Americans are stocking up on batteries and other necessities just in case. And the story of a severely disabled child and the parents who just couldn't cope.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good evening. Bob Schieffer sitting in for Dan tonight. Well, time is fast running out on 1999. Just 2 days left now. And here is the latest on the countdown to 2000. The Y2K bug has taken a bite out of Britain. The State Department is evacuating hundreds of U.S. Embassy employees from Moscow. Police in the Middle East are making precautionary arrests amid fears of terror attacks. And security has been tightened here in the United States at the sites of the Y2K celebrations. We're going to have details on all these stories tonight, and we start with CBS News correspondent Diana Olick in Washington.
With 2 days left, one message is coming out of Washington.
99.9% of federal mission-critical systems are ready for the rollover.
FEMA is ready.
The federal government's principal agencies are telling everyone, every way they can, that they're ready for Y2K.
We are prepared to respond just like we would for any other natural disaster or any other emergency situation anywhere in the continental United States.
The Pentagon showed off its Y2K Ready Room, staffed today for the first time. Its Moscow tie line is poised to respond to any miscommunications about nuclear weapons. Across town, the Department of Energy has already tested its video hotline to Moscow in case of problems with nuclear power plants.
And we had no reports about any emergencies or critical situations.
Here at home, Energy is watching power grids from California to Maine.
They're connected to their private companies throughout the country, and that information will all come in to this center.
And then be relayed here to the Federal Information Coordination Center near the White House. The ICC will monitor what's working and what's not. Everything from Social Security checks to air traffic control to Defense Department early warning systems.
But it is a delicate balance because really Y2K is as much about people as it is about computers.
That is, making sure there's no human meltdown. And that's where these public relations specialists come in to filter the information.
If there's a widespread problem, people deserve to know that. We want to make sure that information gets out. If it's a narrow problem, then they deserve to know that. And we want to be sure that whatever they have is put in perspective.
And that's what this center is really all about. Not just to monitor all the systems, but to make sure that some minor technical problem doesn't trigger a major panic. Bob?
Thank you, Diana. Well, the Kremlin said today that Russia is ready for 2000. The minister in charge of Y2K said, quote, Russia has prepared at least as well as the United States. Nothing serious is going to happen, end of quote. U.S. officials are not quite that confident. CBS News correspondent David Hawkins now has more from Moscow.
When the clock strikes 12 on New Year's Eve, what'll happen to Russia's nuclear missiles? Russia's been slow to correct its Y2K computer problems, but the military says there's nothing to worry about. We're confident there'll be no danger when our systems make the transition into the year 2000, says a defense ministry spokesman. And besides, experts say the military's computers break down all the time. So if systems fail on January 1st, it'll be business as usual. Still, the U.S. government isn't taking any chances. That's why it's arranged with the Russians to post officers in each other's missile command centers to make sure there are no accidental launches. And the State Department is preparing for the worst, evacuating hundreds of U.S. Embassy employees and their families.
This is a crisis, the exact proportions of which we are not able to predict.
Foreigners may be heading for the exits before the lights go out, but most Russians are looking forward to New Year's Eve, the country's most festive holiday, with traditional stoicism. Blackouts, food shortages, and dead phone lines are part of everyday life here. And many Russians have never seen a computer. Outside major cities, even in villages just an hour from Moscow, they're still living in a Y1K world. We're used to power shortages here, says Nikolai Korlov. Of course, it's more entertaining to have the TV on, But if the power goes out, we'll just light up a candle. David Hawkins, CBS News, Moscow.
In a CBS News poll, 2 out of 3 Americans now say this will be just another New Year's Eve, nothing special. But here in New York, as many as 2 million people are expected to celebrate in Times Square. CBS News correspondent Russ Mitchell is out there now. Russ?
Bob, police kept up their security precautions today, and businesses say they too will be on the lookout for anything suspicious. Many hotels here say come New Year's Eve, you won't even be able to get into the building unless you're a registered guest. Also, some shops here may close down just to avoid any trouble. But the bottom line is, after 3 years of planning, it's almost showtime. The stage is nearly set for what will be a 23-hour New Year's celebration. Today, cardboard trash cans replaced regular steel trash containers where police believe bombs could be planted. And the famous ball that will bring in the 21st century got a workout.
Oh, look at this, look at this.
On the other side of the country, there was a preview of the New Year's Eve lighting of the Hollywood sign. And there may be plenty of space to party in Los Angeles. Only about half of the estimated 456,000 tickets available for free events in the LA area have been taken. Officials are scrambling to calm any fears residents may have about security.
We're going to do everything to make sure that the public is safe. We shouldn't let fear or the potential of a threat keep us from living the good life in Los Angeles.
We should point out that most of the expected 2 million who will be in Times Square New Year's Eve will be tourists. A poll showed almost 99% of New Yorkers are not even thinking about coming out here. They're saying it's going to be too crowded and too cold. Bob?
All right, Russ. Well, with all eyes on January 1st, the Y2K bug staged an early sneak attack today in Britain. CBS News correspondent Mark Phillips has that story.
Attention shoppers. The post-Christmas sales in London have produced something neither customers nor retailers had bargained for. At about 10,000 outlets here, the supposedly Y2K-friendly credit card machines have stopped working.
This is our new machine.
Which was supposed to be Y2K proof, is that right? Yeah. And if you put this credit card through it, what happens?
Nothing. It doesn't work at all.
The bank says it's just a glitch. The machine's software looks ahead 4 days and should fix itself after New Year's when all the dates agree. In the meantime, the bank says a few extra keystrokes should make it work. But
you hit a couple of buttons and you hit enter and clear twice.
And if you do that on this machine, what happens?
It's blank. Nothing works.
What works is the old card swipe machine, pen and paper. After months of assurances from banks and governments that everything was under control, it turns out it's not. Computers that were supposed to handle the conversion to the year 2000 have become confused. It's not a full-scale infestation of Y2K bugs, but advanced scouting parties have arrived. And watchdog groups say they may not be the last.
What we are worried about is what we've described as death by 1,000 cuts, or maybe death by 1,000 glitches. In other words, a whole lot of small problems like this, nuisances easily resolved, all happening around the same time, could become unmanageable.
Although here, they've managed.
If anything's going to happen, it's going to happen. Just have to deal with it when it happens.
A lesson for the millennium we may all have to learn. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
Well, for sure, a lot of Americans are not waiting for it to happen, whatever it may be. They are stocking up and playing it safe, as CBS News correspondent Richard Schlesinger reports.
In Kidron, Ohio, Lehman's hardware store has the right stuff at the right time. This is Amish country, where many people shun modern conveniences. Everything Lehman sells is non-electric, and lately most of the customers have been non-Amish.
Y2K has definitely affected our business. We've had a lot of new people in the store that we never had in before.
They're buying hand-cranked flashlights and other back-to-basics items to people like Sherry Heister, who says she's not scared about Y2K.
No, not really. Just in case, though, I'm prepared.
Across the country, a lot of people want to be prepared. Although there are no signs of serious hoarding, people are following the government's suggestions.
Maintain enough food and water for perhaps a long weekend for yourself and your family. Be sure that you have batteries in your portable radios, batteries for your flashlights.
Y2K ready batteries.
Sales are up for basics like bottled water, and to avoid problems like the British are having with their credit cards, the U.S. banking system has an extra $50 billion cash on hand in case there's a rush on ATMs. Today, these two men withdrew thousands of dollars from their New York bank.
For a secure purpose, just to have it available if you need it.
But polls show these men are more the exception than the rule. Businesses and governments have worked for years and spent billions anticipating this Friday night. But despite fears of hoarding, Americans appear to be treating Y2K as more a milestone than a menace. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
On the CBS Market Watch, a milestone on Wall Street today. The NASDAQ closed above 4,000 for the first time ever. It was also a record day for the Dow, closing at 11,484. The government says its index of leading indicators rose to a 40-year high in November. That's a sign the near-record economic expansion will continue. And business has turned sour for Fruit of the Loom. The underwear maker filed for Chapter 11 today. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, parents reach the breaking point. They abandon their severely disabled child. As a hijack drama goes on, a former hostage looks back at how he survived. And he may not look like Santa, but for this man, every day is Christmas.
If foods like onions and peppers give you gas, then do what I do. Take Beano before eating. It has a natural food enzyme that helps prevent gas caused by many vegetables, including beans. And for me, that's great news. Prevent gas with Beano.
Yoo-hoo! Does your daily shower cleaner disinfect? Ooh, guess that's a no. Get Lysol Daily Shower Cleaner, the only one that disinfects. Lysol Daily Shower Cleaner helps protect. You have our word on it.
KJ McAllister mailed in her entry. Beverly Cook mailed in her entry. But this Super Bowl Sunday, you could win $21 million without mailing in an entry. Publishers Clearinghouse introduces PCH.com. Just go online, enter, and you could win $21 million. Of course, if you want to mail it in, that'll work too. So watch your mail or go to PCH.com. And on Super Bowl Sunday, the $21 million winner could be you.
We have an almost unbelievable story tonight involving a wealthy Pennsylvania couple and their severely disabled 10-year-old son. Saying that caring for him had worn them out, the couple brought the boy in his wheelchair to a hospital and just walked away. The incident has triggered a storm of criticism and controversy. Jeffrey Kaufman has our report.
For Dawn and Richard Kelso, Christmas apparently was the last straw. For 10 years, they struggled to care for their severely disabled son, Stephen, who has cerebral palsy. But over the weekend, something snapped. Early Sunday, they drove up to this Delaware Children's Hospital, unloaded boxes filled with Stephen's things. Then an exasperated Dawn Kelso spoke to a receptionist.
Mrs. Kelso responded something to the effect that, I'm tired of talking, I don't want to talk to anyone, I can no longer care for him.
The issue wasn't money. Richard Kelso runs a $500 million chemical company. The couple had private nurses providing round-the-clock home care for Stephen, who needs both a respirator and a wheelchair. But those nurses were gone for the holidays. The Kelsos spent their Christmas taking care of their son in shifts.
My impression has always been that they've cared for the child. I've seen nurses there very often.
Wouldn't have expected that at all. Even though I don't know them, you just don't expect people to do that.
There is no shortage of criticism being aimed at the Kelsos, but you won't find it here at United Cerebral Palsy of Philadelphia, where they offer daily care and training for some of the 500,000 American adults and children with cerebral palsy. Pat Benvenuto knows what the Kelsos have gone through.
They didn't choose this for themselves. They found themselves with this child. They've probably done many wonderful things for this boy, but found themselves at a point in time that said, I can't do this anymore.
Stephen Kelso is still in the care of this hospital, now a ward of the state. His parents spent a night in jail. They're now free on bail, facing charges of abandonment. For Richard and Dawn Kelso, it seems it was not about how much they could afford, but about how much they could handle. Jeffrey Kaufman, CBS News, Wilmington.
Vice President Gore's wife, Tipper, is resting at home now following surgery yesterday to remove a growth on her thyroid gland. Doctors will examine the growth for possible signs of cancer. Results are expected next week. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, a deadly hijack drama through the eyes of an American hostage.
For the latest medical news and information, visit our health website, cbshealthwatch.com.
This is Unisom Sleep Gels. It helps you sleep. This is Tylenol PM. It helps you sleep too. They both have the exact same amount of the exact same sleep ingredient. But Tylenol PM has added medicine for headaches, backaches, even fever. Do you have a headache? Backache? Fever? Then why take medicine for it? Take Unisom. It's a safe, non-habit-forming way to fall fast asleep.
If you put something off for an entire year, how would people describe you? Lazy? A procrastinator? How about smart? Introducing Mitsubishi's 000 till 01 event. Buy any Mitsubishi and pay 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments until 2001. Hey, why do today what you can do? Mitsubishi's 000 till 01 event ends January 3rd.
I was miserable. My antacid didn't do the whole job. Then I tried Alka-Seltzer.
Only Alka-Seltzer relieves heartburn and pain and has the effervescent power to speed relief.
It made a believer out of me.
Get better relief. Get Alka-Seltzer.
Mentadent's new Surround toothbrush isn't for everyone, just people who think every tooth deserves special attention. Its outer base moves while its bristles wrap and surround teeth for a clean so complete you can feel it. New Mentadent Surround, meant to be different.
This is the face of erectile dysfunction. So is this. And this. Fact is, 1 in 3 men have some form of ED, a medical condition also called impotence that affects men of every age, race, and background. What else do all these men have in common? They all faced up to their problem and got help. If you're experiencing ED, there's no need to hide your face. Just talk to your doctor. It's the best way to get educated about ED and how to treat it.
A win late today for prosecutors in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A federal judge said that fired scientist Winho Lee must remain in jail pending his trial on charges of mishandling U.S. nuclear weapons secrets. There will be no bail. The judge said allowing Lee to communicate freely with others could cause, quote, enormous harm. 155 hostages, including 1 American, are in the 6th day now of their ordeal aboard the hijacked Indian airliner in Afghanistan. Today, the hijackers dropped their demand for money, but they're still demanding freedom for 35 Kashmir militants. 1 hostage has already been killed. To get a sense of what the captives are going through, CBS News correspondent Eric Ingberg today talked with a survivor of another siege.
American Jeffrey Balkan was one of 100 passengers held hostage on a Pakistani Airlines plane 19 years ago. Still pictures he took near the end of the 13-day ordeal, after tensions eased when the hijackers' demands were met, are the only photos ever made of a hijacking in progress. The expressions of fear and torment he captured on film, and his own recollections, give some idea of what the Indian Airlines hostages are going through. First, the physical discomfort.
You could only go to the toilet at armed escort with a hijacker who had the pistol and a grenade. So there was a long queue, so to speak, to get to the toilet.
The hijackers were heavily armed and disciplined. Balkan risked taking a picture of the back of the leader of the group as he walked down the aisle. The gun he carried is out of the frame.
These 3 men did not sleep the whole 2 weeks ever that I could notice all at the time. There was always one of them patrolling throughout what became 300 hours of patrol duty.
6 days into the hijacking, they murdered a Pakistani military officer. The Americans on board, including Balkan, were told they would be next.
The stench of death was the most difficult thing to deal with after the execution on the 6th day. The feeling of witnessing, in my case, the man shot and beaten 10 feet in front of me.
He remembers, too, the quiet heroism of the flight attendant who refused to leave with the other freed women hostages out of a sense of duty. When the government gave in and freed 54 political prisoners, Balkan and the other hostages were let go. The experience was so traumatic that he forgot he had taken the pictures and did not develop them for 10 more years. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Washington.
Another kind of life or death air drama today at California's Burbank Airport as the pilot of a small plane approached for a landing. He could not get his landing gear down. He circled the runway repeatedly, and then with his instructor giving him encouragement over the radio from the ground, he came in for a crash landing. He walked away. The plane was only lightly damaged. Well, when we come back, Dan Rather with tonight's American Dream.
When dentures dream, they see the perfect denture cleanser. One with the stain-fighting power of Efferdent and the freshening power of Listerine. Well, little friend, dream no more. It's really here. It's called Efferdent Plus. It's extra fresh, and nothing gets your dentures cleaner. Efferdent Clean and Listerine Fresh. That's Efferdent Plus.
A significant discovery in eye health may be lutein, a nutrient found in these healthy foods, perhaps as vital to your eyes as the beta-carotene in carrots. And now, Centrum and Centrum Silver are the only leading multivitamins that have lutein. So whatever your age, you can help maintain your precious sight. Look into Centrum and Centrum Silver, now more complete with lutein. Also look for Centrum Herbals, the only herbals backed by Centrum Science.
It's taken thousands of hours of work for us to reach these numbers. But for you to reach us, all you need is this number. 1-800-4STRONG. You're one call away from a strong portfolio.
Why is Lysol spray the best way to help protect your family? Because of what it does, kills the cold bug in seconds, and what it doesn't do, leave the sticky film Clorox spray does. That's why nothing beats Lysol.
Let's face it, occasional loss of bladder control is no picnic. But now you can be dry and get on with your life with Poise pads. You see, Poise pads have a special absorbent material inside called Dry Touch that holds more than 10 times its weight in fluid, locks it into a gel, and turns it into a dry fluff. So you stay drier. Poise pads. Drier. Need I say more?
Percy Ross grew up poor, but he had a dream that if he worked hard, he could become a success. And he did. Ross made himself a fortune. Then he set a new and unusual goal for himself. He decided he would share his wealth with others. Share it one dream at a time.
Good morning, Miss Weber.
Good morning, Mr. Ross.
How are you?
At the Minneapolis office of multimillionaire Percy Ross, every day is Christmas.
The lady in New Orleans, did you send her the $2,500 for her operation?
For the last 17 years, Percy Ross has been giving away his fortune.
Send her the money to buy a bike. Send her $200. I decided to use the motto that he who gives while he lives also knows where it goes.
Percy Ross hasn't always lived such a privileged life. Growing up in northern Michigan, life was anything but easy for the son of Eastern European immigrants.
My dad had a rough time making a living.
His father was a junk dealer, and Percy, by age 6, was learning the family business.
It was quite frequently that the Salvation Army would come over to our home with a hot meal for our family.
As a businessman himself, he suffered 3 separate bankruptcies.
My dream was to become rich someday.
Percy finally hit the jackpot in the plastic bag industry, a company he bought with $30,000 and sold years later for $8 million. Ever since, he has been giving it away.
Most people thought I was crazy.
First it was bikes to poor kids, then money, and lots of it.
So here's an interesting letter from San Antonio, Texas.
In 1983, he started a syndicated newspaper column.
Oh, I'm 82 also. She's the same age as I am, Miss Weber.
No.
I'm 82 also.
No, you're 83.
The column appeared in 800 publications. Readers would write in requesting financial assistance. Percy received hundreds of thousands of letters, but sometimes just sending a check wasn't good enough for Percy.
I got a letter from a gal who said, Mr. Ross, things are so rough, my husband's out of work, and we could sure use the money for milk. And instead of sending her $400 or $500 to buy milk for about a year, what I did was I went to a cattle auction, and I bought her a cow.
Just how much has he given away? Well, that's his little secret.
Am I a better person if I gave away $2 million a year than if I only gave away $1 million?
Percy is now calling it quits with the column, but if Percy likes a letter, he just may continue making every day Christmas.
And I think if people use that principle, this world would be a much better place to live in. Oh, that should help them a little bit, huh?
Ross hopes others will follow his example, and he says you don't have to be wealthy to do it. Give one bite to one child who wasn't expecting it, he says, and just maybe make a dream come true.
The American Dream, brought to you by Fidelity Investments. We help you invest responsibly.
I grew up in Manila. It was a difficult life. My parents were poor. Some days we didn't have enough food. I went to bed hungry. When I was in high school, I made a decision that I would work for a better life than that. I saw that education was the key to get out of my poverty. After school, I put all of my worldly belongings in 2 suitcases and moved away. I earned 5 teaching credentials and a master's degree. I started learning about investing by reading. I'm very comfortable making my own investment decisions. You have to tell yourself that you can do it, and you will. In time, I have seen those stocks and mutual funds grow. I still live frugally, although I don't have to. I still ask questions. Learning is a lifelong process.
Judy Koh is one of the extraordinary people who invests responsibly with Fidelity. We can help you do the same. For your guide, visit Fidelity.com.
Nobody in America sells more office products to more businesses than Office Depot.
You can shop our store.
Taking care of business.
Or you can shop our catalog.
Taking care of business.
You can shop online.
Taking care of business. It's all mine. Taking care of business and working overtime. Work out. Office Depot. Taking care of business.
If you put something off for an entire year, how would people describe you? Lazy? A procrastinator? How about smart? Introducing Mitsubishi's 000 till 01 event. Buy any Mitsubishi and pay 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments until 2001. Hey, why do today what you can do? Mitsubishi's 000 till 01 event ends January 3rd.
Finally tonight, as we count down to the year 2000, it's rarely that have we been so obsessed by time and its passing as we are these days. So the timing was perfect today for the government to unveil the most accurate and perhaps strangest looking timepiece ever made. An atomic clock that designers say won't gain or lose 1 second over the next 20 million years. That is a long way from the sundials, pocket watches, and clocks of years past when we didn't have to be quite so accurate. But now we'll have the best clock ever for the new millennium. Who knows, maybe one day it will be as famous as Big Ben or this old stopwatch. Whatever the case, I shall now avoid the temptation to say our time is up and just say that's the news. Dan Rather will be back tomorrow. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online, at keyword CBS News. Your vision for the future.